Hi, this is Robbie here from Brenco Guitars, and as hopefully you can tell from the thumbnail, we're working on a very prestigious instrument today. This is a Gretsch Country Gentleman that belonged to Philip Chevron, late of the Radiators and the Pogues, and we'll take you in now and we'll talk about the instrument, its history, and what we're going to be doing to it.
So we'll just give you a quick overview of the instrument here, and then we'll go into more detail and piece by piece about what we plan on doing and what the future holds for this instrument. So as we said, this guitar is a Gretsch Country Gentleman, and it belonged to Philip Chevron from the Radiators from Space and also the Pogues. And the plan is we are going to do a partial restoration and refurbishment on the instrument. And just to temper anyone's expectations, this won't be a full restoration. We won't be making the guitar look like it's just come from the factory and completely brand new or anything like that. All of the damage that the guitar might have, or road scars and things like that, are all part of its history, and we'll be keeping them. The plan is what we're going to do is will be a complete clean of the instrument, and just repair some areas that are damaged, and just to get the guitar back to life again, and to keep it in a state where it won't deteriorate where it's from now. The guitar had been in storage for the last couple of years, and so as you said, this is just some remedial repairs, a cleaning and partial refurbishment. So we'll take you in closer onto certain areas that we're going to work on and explain what we're going to do. So before we do any work on the instrument, we'll just talk you through the whole thing, and we'll go into some more detail about what we plan on doing repair wise. So just starting up here with the headstock, you can see it says Gretsch, and we're missing a plate here, and this plate would have given the full description of the instrument. It would have said Gretsch Country Gentleman, etc. You can see we're missing some pieces of binding here and over here, so we're going to replace those. So we'll colour match with the binding here, and the reason we're replacing these parts is we're trying to protect the wood in this area. We don't want to get any more damage than it is. As we come down, and we've got what seems to be a replacement nut here, and so again we might go with something a little more appropriate and colour matched to the area as well. You can see we've got some issues with the binding here as well that we'll address. The fingerboard is quite clean all the way along, as are the frets. Frets are in quite good condition, no serious dings or anything like that, and we're not going to refret the instrument. It's this instrument won't be taken out on the road again to do any heavy touring or playing, so we won't refret it. It's not going to see that much use. And as we come down further on the neck, just checking our binding here, you can see we're missing another chunk of binding here, and again we'll replace that. Moving down to the body, we've got our pickguard here, which isn't actually secured by screws anymore. There's something sticky underneath it holding it in place, so we'll remedy that situation and we'll get an appropriate bracket that goes just here into these screw holes, and we'll get a replacement part there. We've got our pride flag. We've also got all our electronics here as well. Some feel slightly loose, so that will all be tightened up. Our switches. We've got our pickups, again quite faded. These would have been gold. There's only some gold you can still make out on them, but again, as I said, we're not going to do a complete restoration, so we won't be, trying to get these back looking pristine. Again, with our bridge, it's a wooden bridge, but it is pinned in place. And then moving down, we've got our Bigsby unit here. Again, you can see how much of the gold plating has been worn off, and again, it's not something we're going to be fixing, and we're just going to try and clean it as much as we can and see if we can do anything to make sure it doesn't get any worse than it is. Here we have our mute system, so we're missing some red felt that would have just went around this part, and when you press this switch, you can just make it out there. We've got this small part here pops up, and there should be some foam here, and the foam would press against the strings and mute them, which would have been used a lot in country playing. So the mechanism works, which is great. It just needs some new foam, and as we said, new felt here. Got our output jack down here. So that's it for the front of the instrument. We'll just quickly flip it over and show you the back. So on the back of the instrument, you can see our tuners here have a lot of wear as well. And we've got our serial number. We'll go into more detail about that soon. And moving down the neck, you can see we've got lots of marks from where it was quite heavily played. So the back of our body, we've got our rather large metal, or leather I should say, backplate. And this would have been used to protect the back of the guitar from wear and tear and belt buckle rash and that. And under that we have our actual control plate. We'll be discussing all this in more detail quite soon. So that's pretty much an overview of the instrument. So we're just going to plug her in very quickly and see how things are working with the electronics, and then we'll prepare to move on from there. So we've got our instrument plugged in. It's just into a small Vox amp here, and you can hear a lot of that hum crackle and stuff. So if we just touch some of the electronics, you can hear there's a change in that hum. So that means we have some kind of a grounding issue or some other wiring issue. So that's another mystery we'll have to look into. Our switches all work. So you can hear the hum has gone away when we've changed this switch. So that could be where our issue is with the wiring. We'll investigate that. You can hear everything is kind of a little bit scratchy. So all our electronics work, which is a great thing. But as you can hear, we still have our background hum, so we'll have to open up the back and investigate our electronics and see what's happening there. So now we know that our instrument does work, and we know a little bit about it, and we'll try and go into more detail here and see if we can get an accurate date on when the instrument was actually manufactured. So the first question we're going to be asking ourselves is, when was this instrument made? And you can see we've got a serial number here, 1037. So for a Gretsch of this era, this number would work out that number 1 would be our month of production, so it was January. 0 would indicate that it was 1970. And our 37 would be that this was number 37 in that particular production batch. And we also have our Made in USA stamp under here. But wait, we don't have a Made in USA stamp under here. So this serial number doesn't make sense for it to be a 1970s guitar. So a 4-digit serial number wouldn't have existed in 1970 without having a Made in USA stamp. So straight away we have a mystery about the age of this guitar. So we're attempting to age this guitar, and as we said, this is the double cutaway model of the Gretsch Country Gentleman. So this is from after 1962. Our headstock doesn't have a Made in USA stamp, so it's before 1967. So the guitar is actually older than we originally thought. So that puts us somewhere between 1962 and 1967. And as we said, our serial number doesn't particularly help us here. So there are no other markings on the out front of the instrument that will help us, so we're going to flip it over again and we'll start to take a look at some more things on the back that may help us age it. So we're looking again here at the back of our instrument, and we've got our leather back plate here, and a lot of people think this is going to be a big gaping huge hole in the back of the instrument, but these in fact were just to cover up the back and protect it from buckle, rash and wear and tear and that. So we can lift this out of the way. It's all connected by these small snap studs, and as we move that out of the way we can see our actual back plate, and if we get in there we can see it says Gretsch, and we've got our patent numbers here which don't help us at all. So we're going to take out all these small slot headed screws, and we're going to take a look at the electronics inside, and hopefully some of the pots have dates stamped onto them, and that should help us give us a more accurate year for the instrument. So we've got our back plate off now, and see we've got this nice piece of plastic protecting the edge of the wood, and we have access to all our electronics and other moving parts. This is the mute system on the front that we showed earlier. And we've got our electronics just in here. I'll try and see if I can get some kind of an angle on it. So they're just back there. So with this camera we can't really see. So what I'll do is I'll get in there with a small mirror and try and get some pictures inside and just show you what we come back with. So as you can see here, we've taken a picture of one of our pots and you can see all the wiring is intact. And if you see these numbers here just at the top, we've got 137, which is the manufacturing code for the pot, and then we have 6639. So that means that this pot was made in the 39th week of 1966, which puts us into late 66. So when we combine that with our serial number, and we know that the instrument does not have a made in USA stamp, which puts us before 67, and we have a pot that says 66, we can conclude that this instrument was probably made in late 1966. So while we have our backplate open, we can see this black wire here, and we can see that it's not actually connected to anything. So that's the mystery solved of why our electronics sounded so bad earlier. So we'll have to investigate exactly where that came from and where it needs to be reattached to fix our electronics. So that's another job on the list that we have to take care of. So I'm just getting ready to put this footage together, and I've just been on Facebook and just realised that it's actually Philip's birthday today. He would have been 65 today. So that's a nice interesting coincidence. So we're definitely going to be treating this instrument with some love. As I said, we've talked through what problems we can see, what we intend on fixing, and we still have a lot of cleaning and general upkeep of the instrument to do as well. But it's still a nice, bizarre and happy coincidence that it is Philip's birthday today. So we'll get to work on this instrument, and hopefully in the next part or next couple of parts we'll take you to the process of what we're doing and then show you the final instrument. But as we said, we aren't going crazy with the refurbishment. This is just general cleaning and maintenance. It won't be looking like it's just come from the factory or anything like that. But we should give it a decent lease of life. The instrument will be usable, playable again, and in a condition that it should stay in for several years to come.